Stop being soft to everyone is not a call to abandon your kindness, but a reminder to balance compassion with self-respect. In a world where softness is often mistaken for weakness, learning to set boundaries and protect your energy becomes an act of self-preservation. True kindness thrives when it is paired with strength, allowing you to give generously without depleting yourself, fostering relationships grounded in mutual respect and authenticity. True kindness is not about pleasing everyone at the expense of our well-being. It is about finding the strength to stand firm, even in the face of discomfort, while extending empathy to those around us. A kind heart operates with intention, recognizing that saying no can be as valuable as saying yes. It draws a clear distinction between being generous and being taken for granted. Today, I invite you to explore the importance of self-respect and the necessity of protecting your energy in a world that often takes advantage of softness. Together, we will uncover how balancing kindness with strength empowers us to live more authentically and fosters relationships built on mutual respect and understanding. Overgiving is a silent and often misunderstood behavior that can appear as a noble expression of kindness and compassion. On the surface, being generous and selfless seems like a virtue, one that reflects empathy, warmth, and a strong sense of community. However, when the act of giving becomes excessive and unbalanced, it can lead to exhaustion, resentment, and even loss of identity. At first, overgiving feels rewarding. People who overgive are often motivated by a deep desire to help others, believing that their value lies in being indispensable. They find joy in being the person everyone relies on, stepping up whenever someone is in need. This sense of purpose, while fulfilling, can slowly turn into a compulsion. The need to continuously give to friends, family, colleagues, or even strangers can overshadow one's personal limits, eroding physical and emotional boundaries. One of the key signs of overgiving is the gradual depletion of mental and emotional energy. Those who constantly put others' needs before their own may start to feel drained and fatigued. This exhaustion is not always physical, but often manifests as a persistent sense of being overwhelmed, underappreciated, or emotionally depleted. Over time, the relentless cycle of giving without replenishment can lead to burnout. When this happens, the joy that once accompanied acts of generosity fades, replaced by frustration and resentment. The mental toll of overgiving is closely linked to the fear of disappointing others. Many overgivers struggle to say no, feeling guilty at the thought of turning someone down. This guilt drives them to take on more than they can handle, leading to chronic stress and anxiety. As their to-do list grows longer and personal priorities take a back seat, overgivers often begin to neglect their own health, goals, and relationships. This imbalance can create a dangerous feedback loop. The more they give, the more is expected of them. In the absence of boundaries, they may become trapped in one-sided relationships where their efforts are taken for granted. Overgiving also poses significant risks to mental health. The weight of unreciprocated effort can foster feelings of isolation and inadequacy. Overgivers may question their worth, basing their self-esteem entirely on how much they contribute to others. This distorted sense of value can make them vulnerable to manipulation, as they equate being needed with being loved or respected. The result is often an unhealthy dependence on external validation, perpetuating a cycle where overgivers sacrifice more of themselves to secure approval and avoid conflict. The physical consequences of overgiving should not be overlooked. For example, someone who consistently works late to help colleagues may find themselves battling fatigue, frequent headaches, or even severe burnout. Constantly prioritizing others can gradually deteriorate physical health. Symptoms such as chronic fatigue, headaches, and weakened immunity are common among those who consistently overextend themselves. Stress-related conditions, including high blood pressure and heart problems, can emerge if overgiving continues unchecked. The body, like the mind, requires balance and care. Without it, physical well-being deteriorates, reinforcing the cycle of depletion. In relationships, overgiving often disrupts the natural flow of reciprocity. While healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and exchange, overgiving can create an imbalance where one person consistently gives more than they receive. This dynamic can foster unhealthy dependencies, with one party becoming accustomed to receiving without effort. As a result, the overgiver may feel unappreciated or exploited. Over time, this dynamic erodes the foundation of trust and respect that sustains relationships, leaving both parties feeling disconnected. Breaking the cycle of overgiving requires a shift in mindset and the courage to set firm boundaries. Recognizing that self-worth is not tied to how much one can give is essential. Overgivers must learn to prioritize their needs, understanding that self-care is not selfish but necessary for sustained well-being. Saying no becomes an act of empowerment, a way to reclaim control over one's life and preserve energy for meaningful and balanced connections. Establishing boundaries is a critical step toward overcoming overgiving. Boundaries help define where one's responsibility ends and another's begins. They prevent burnout by ensuring that personal time, energy, and resources are protected. Communicating these limits clearly and assertively can feel uncomfortable at first, especially for those unaccustomed to advocating for themselves. However, boundaries foster healthier relationships, where respect and understanding flow both ways. Learning to embrace vulnerability is equally important. Overgivers often equate vulnerability with weakness, believing that asking for help or prioritizing their own needs diminishes their worth. In reality, vulnerability is a strength that allows individuals to connect authentically with others. By acknowledging their limitations and expressing their needs openly, overgivers invite deeper and more meaningful connections into their lives. Boundaries are frequently misinterpreted as walls that create distance between individuals. In truth, they are vital structures that foster healthy and flourishing relationships. Setting personal limits is not a sign of selfishness, but a demonstration of self-worth and emotional awareness. They clarify personal limits and communicate what is acceptable and unacceptable in interactions with others. When boundaries are absent or poorly enforced, individuals may find themselves overwhelmed, unappreciated, and disconnected from their own needs. One of the clearest signs of boundary issues is the feeling of being constantly stretched thin. Without well-defined limits, people often take on more than they can handle, leading to burnout and emotional exhaustion. This imbalance stems from the fear of saying no, driven by a desire to avoid conflict or gain approval. Over time, this pattern erodes personal well-being and fosters resentment, not just toward others, but also toward oneself for failing to set necessary limits. In relationships, the absence of boundaries can lead to codependency, where one person consistently prioritizes the needs of another at the expense of their own health and happiness. This dynamic often manifests in romantic relationships, friendships, and even professional environments. When one party assumes the role of caretaker or problem solver without reciprocation, the relationship becomes one-sided, fostering feelings of frustration and neglect. Clear boundaries, however, ensure that both individuals maintain their autonomy while supporting each other in balanced and meaningful ways. The importance of boundaries extends to the workplace, where the lines between professional and personal life can easily blur. Without boundaries, employees may find themselves answering emails late at night, accepting tasks beyond their capacity, or sacrificing personal time for the sake of appearing dedicated. While this overcommitment may yield short-term praise, it often results in long-term dissatisfaction, decreased productivity, and burnout. By setting clear boundaries around work hours, responsibilities, and personal space, individuals protect their mental health and cultivate a more sustainable, fulfilling career. One of the most significant benefits of setting boundaries is the positive impact it has on self-esteem and confidence. When individuals assert their limits, they reinforce the message that their time, energy, and needs are valuable. This self-respect radiates outward, encouraging others to treat them with greater consideration and respect. Conversely, when boundaries are consistently ignored or compromised, it sends the signal that personal well-being is secondary, diminishing self-worth and reinforcing patterns of overgiving. Enforcing boundaries is not always easy. It often requires difficult conversations and the willingness to tolerate discomfort. People accustomed to overstepping may react negatively when confronted with new limits, interpreting them as rejection or hostility. However, the discomfort of asserting boundaries is temporary and is far outweighed by the long-term benefits of healthier, more respectful relationships. With practice, the act of setting boundaries becomes second nature, empowering individuals to navigate their lives with greater clarity and confidence. In addition to fostering healthier relationships and enhancing personal well-being, boundaries also contribute to clearer communication. When individuals express their needs and limitations openly, they reduce the likelihood of misunderstandings and unmet expectations. This transparency strengthens connections by eliminating ambiguity and fostering mutual respect. Rather than leaving others guessing about personal preferences or tolerances, boundaries provide a roadmap for navigating interactions with clarity and respect. The concept of boundaries extends beyond interpersonal relationships to encompass self-discipline and personal accountability. Setting internal boundaries, such as limiting screen time, committing to regular exercise, or prioritizing rest, helps cultivate a more balanced, fulfilling life. These self-imposed boundaries reinforce discipline, encouraging individuals to honor their commitments to themselves as much as they do to others. Boundaries are an essential tool for cultivating a life of balance, respect, and fulfillment. They serve as a reminder that self-care is not an indulgence but a necessity, allowing individuals to thrive in their personal and professional lives. By establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries, people create the conditions for genuine connection, sustainable growth, and lasting well-being. At its core, kindness is an active force. It involves deliberate decisions to treat others with respect, patience, and generosity, even in challenging circumstances. A kind person operates from a place of inner stability, driven by a desire to uplift and create positive change. Kindness does not stem from a need for approval, but from a sense of moral and emotional integrity. This resilience allows individuals to extend warmth to others without compromising their own values or self-worth. One of the most telling differences between kindness and weakness lies in how each handles adversity. A kind person approaches difficult situations with calmness and courage, balancing empathy with the resolve to make tough decisions when necessary. Kindness allows for firm boundaries, empowering individuals to say no without guilt. Conversely, weakness avoids confrontation altogether, leading to passive compliance and an erosion of personal integrity. This avoidance may temporarily ease tension, but over time, it fosters resentment and a diminished sense of self. Kindness requires discernment, the ability to assess when compassion is beneficial and when it risks enabling harmful behaviors. For example, offering help to someone in need can be an act of kindness, but consistently sacrificing personal well-being to accommodate unreasonable demands is a sign of weakness. Recognizing this difference helps individuals maintain balance, ensuring that their generosity does not lead to self-exploitation. A crucial aspect of kindness is self-respect. Kind individuals understand that their worth is not tied to how much they do for others. They prioritize their own mental and emotional health, recognizing that sustainable generosity stems from a place of fullness, not depletion. Weakness, by contrast, often thrives in environments where personal value is measured by external validation. Those who equate their self-worth with being indispensable are more likely to fall into patterns of overgiving and neglect their own needs. In professional settings, the distinction between kindness and weakness becomes particularly significant. Leaders who exhibit kindness foster trust, collaboration, and mutual respect. They communicate with clarity, address conflicts directly, and inspire confidence through empathy and fairness. Weak leaders, however, may struggle to enforce boundaries, hesitate to hold others accountable, or avoid making difficult decisions altogether. While their intentions may be positive, their inability to assert themselves can undermine team cohesion and productivity. Similarly, in personal relationships, kindness promotes deeper connections and emotional intimacy. It encourages honest communication and mutual support, creating environments where both parties feel valued and understood. Weakness, on the other hand, often leads to imbalances where one individual consistently gives more than they receive. This dynamic can breed frustration and disconnection, eroding the trust and respect that sustain healthy relationships. The societal perception of kindness as a form of vulnerability often reinforces the confusion between the two concepts. However, vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a strength that allows individuals to connect authentically and build genuine relationships. Embracing vulnerability requires courage, as it involves exposing one's true feelings and accepting the risk of rejection or misunderstanding. Weakness, by contrast, masks itself behind avoidance and passivity, preventing meaningful engagement and personal growth. Kindness is proactive, while weakness is reactive. A kind person takes initiative to resolve conflicts, uplift others, and contribute positively to their environment. Weakness, however, often results in inaction or passive acceptance of unfavorable circumstances. This key distinction highlights why kindness is a powerful force for change, while weakness frequently perpetuates cycles of dissatisfaction and stagnation. The energy behind kindness uplifts both the giver and the receiver. When individuals act kindly, they inspire similar behaviors in others, fostering communities built on respect and cooperation. Weakness, on the other hand, depletes energy and creates environments where unhealthy dynamics flourish. Recognizing the difference empowers individuals to cultivate kindness while rejecting behaviors that stem from fear or insecurity. Understanding the difference between kindness and weakness is about reclaiming personal power. True kindness reinforces self-worth, nurtures healthy relationships, and contributes to positive growth, both individually and collectively. Weakness diminishes personal agency, leaving individuals vulnerable to exploitation and dissatisfaction. By choosing kindness, individuals assert their strength, affirm their values, and create lives defined by empathy, balance, and resilience. Toxic relationships can quietly infiltrate our lives, often disguised as normal interactions or bonds we feel obligated to maintain. These relationships, whether with a friend, family member, partner, or colleague, gradually erode our emotional and mental well-being, leaving us drained, insecure, and questioning our self-worth. Unlike healthy relationships, which foster growth, trust, and mutual respect, toxic relationships thrive on imbalance, manipulation, and emotional strain. Recognizing the signs early is essential to protect and reclaim personal peace and happiness. One of the most telling indicators of a toxic relationship is a persistent sense of negativity. This can manifest through constant criticism, passive-aggressive remarks, or belittlement that chips away at your confidence. Toxic individuals often undermine others subtly, creating a dynamic where their target feels perpetually inadequate or unworthy. Over time, this erodes self-esteem, making it difficult to distinguish between constructive feedback and intentional harm. A lack of reciprocity is another hallmark of toxicity. Healthy relationships are built on mutual give and take, but toxic dynamics frequently revolve around one person's needs, desires, and emotional well-being at the expense of the other. In such relationships, efforts to support, listen, and care are rarely returned, leaving one party feeling used and unappreciated. If you consistently feel exhausted or depleted after interacting with someone, it may be a sign that the relationship is draining rather than enriching. Toxic relationships often thrive on control and isolation. Toxic individuals may seek to monopolize your time, discourage outside friendships, or create conflict between you and others to keep you reliant on them. This isolation can happen gradually, making it harder to recognize until you realize how disconnected you've become from supportive networks. Identifying and resisting these isolation tactics is vital to maintaining personal agency and emotional freedom. Another defining characteristic of toxic relationships is the consistent violation of boundaries. In healthy relationships, boundaries are respected and valued, fostering mutual understanding and trust. In toxic dynamics, however, personal limits are frequently ignored or dismissed, whether through constant interruptions, emotional dumping, or invasions of privacy. Toxic individuals show little regard for the boundaries that preserve your well-being. When you attempt to set limits, they may respond with anger, guilt-tripping, or withdrawal, reinforcing the cycle of boundary violations. Creating distance is a necessary step in escaping toxic relationships. This does not always mean severing ties completely, especially in cases where the toxic individual is a family member or long-term friend. However, limiting contact, establishing firm boundaries, and reducing emotional investment can significantly lessen the negative impact. Practicing emotional detachment, allowing yourself to disengage from manipulative tactics, and refusing to internalize toxic behavior is essential in this process. Surrounding yourself with supportive, nurturing individuals can also facilitate healing. Healthy relationships serve as a counterbalance to toxic ones, reminding you of your worth and reinforcing positive patterns of interaction. Reconnecting with friends, family, or support groups helps restore confidence and provides the encouragement needed to move forward. These connections reaffirm that relationships should uplift and inspire, not deplete and diminish. Learning to say no is another powerful tool in escaping toxic relationships. Often, toxic individuals exploit the fear of conflict or rejection to maintain control. By asserting yourself and refusing unreasonable demands, you signal that your needs and well-being are non-negotiable. While saying no may initially provoke resistance or anger, it ultimately establishes a clear boundary that protects your emotional health. Healing from the effects of toxic relationships takes time and patience. It involves rebuilding self-esteem, reestablishing trust in yourself, and addressing any lingering emotional wounds. Practicing self-compassion and seeking professional guidance, such as therapy or counseling, can accelerate this healing process. Through reflection and intentional self-care, you gradually restore balance, ensuring that future relationships align with your values and contribute to your overall happiness. Recognizing and escaping toxic relationships is an act of self-empowerment. It is a declaration that your emotional and mental well-being are priorities, deserving of protection and care. By taking the necessary steps to identify, distance yourself from, and heal from toxic dynamics, you pave the way for relationships that enrich and elevate your life. In doing so, you reclaim your peace, foster personal growth, and cultivate connections grounded in mutual respect and genuine affection. The ability to say no is one of the most valuable and empowering tools for safeguarding your mental, emotional, and physical well-being. In a world that often praises selflessness, accommodation, and perpetual availability, the simple act of declining requests or refusing additional responsibilities can feel uncomfortable, even selfish. However, mastering the art of saying no is not about rejecting others. It is about affirming your boundaries, protecting your energy, and prioritizing what truly matters in your life. Saying no is a declaration of self-respect. It acknowledges that your time and energy are finite resources that deserve careful management. Many individuals fall into the habit of overcommitting because they fear disappointing others or being perceived as unkind. This tendency often stems from a desire to maintain relationships, secure approval, or avoid conflict. While these intentions may seem noble, consistently prioritizing others' needs at the expense of your own can lead to burnout, resentment, and diminished self-esteem. The transformative power of no lies in its ability to realign your life with your values and goals. Every time you agree to something that does not serve your greater purpose, you inadvertently sacrifice opportunities for growth, rest, or meaningful engagement in areas that truly fulfill you. By learning to decline obligations that conflict with your priorities, you create space for experiences and relationships that nurture your well-being. This shift allows you to cultivate a more balanced, intentional life where your actions reflect your deepest desires and aspirations. Saying no is not just about refusal. It is about reclaiming agency over your decisions. It reminds you that you are not obligated to meet every demand or conform to every expectation placed upon you. This sense of autonomy fosters confidence, empowering you to stand firm in your choices without the need for excessive justification or guilt. Over time, embracing this practice enhances your ability to set clear boundaries and communicate your needs effectively. In professional environments, the ability to say no is particularly critical. Overcommitment in the workplace can lead to chronic stress, diminished productivity, and ultimately burnout. By setting boundaries around your workload, you not only protect your well-being, but also enhance your performance and job satisfaction. Learning to delegate tasks, negotiate deadlines, and refuse unnecessary obligations allows you to focus on areas where your contributions are most impactful. This assertiveness often earns respect from colleagues and supervisors, reinforcing the importance of work-life balance. The process of saying no becomes easier with practice. It begins with small, deliberate choices, declining a social invitation that feels draining, or passing on a project that falls outside your expertise. As you build confidence in your ability to set limits, you will notice a shift in how others perceive and interact with you. Consistency in maintaining your boundaries signals that your time and energy are valuable, prompting others to approach you with greater consideration. A crucial aspect of this practice is recognizing that no does not require elaborate explanations. Many individuals feel compelled to over-justify their refusals, as if their decisions are not valid without a detailed rationale. However, no is a complete sentence. While offering a brief, polite explanation can be appropriate in some situations, it is not necessary to defend your boundaries excessively. The simple act of declining with kindness and firmness is sufficient. The power of saying no extends beyond external interactions. It also applies to the commitments you make to yourself. Setting internal boundaries around habits, time management, and self-care is essential for maintaining personal growth and balance. By saying no to distractions, negative self-talk, and unhealthy patterns, you foster an environment where your goals and well-being can thrive. This inner discipline strengthens your resolve, enabling you to pursue your aspirations with clarity and focus. Moreover, saying no reinforces the value of self-care. It sends a message that your needs are just as important as the needs of those around you. Prioritizing rest, relaxation, and personal fulfillment is not selfish. It is necessary for long-term happiness and success. When you honor your limits, you preserve the energy required to engage fully in the areas that matter most, enhancing your capacity to support others in meaningful and sustainable ways. The power of no is about creating a life that aligns with your authentic self. It allows you to cultivate relationships, careers, and experiences that reflect your values and passions. By embracing this simple yet transformative skill, you empower yourself to lead with intention, protect your well-being, and live a more fulfilling, balanced life. Compassion, by its nature, involves extending emotional and sometimes physical resources to support others. Whether it is comforting a friend, helping a family member, or dedicating time to a cause, acts of kindness enrich lives and foster deeper connections. Yet the act of giving, when unregulated, can create a dangerous imbalance. Without self-preservation, individuals risk becoming overburdened, leaving little energy for themselves. This imbalance not only diminishes the quality of care they provide, but can also lead to disengagement and emotional depletion. The key to balancing compassion with self-preservation lies in recognizing personal limits. Many compassionate individuals struggle with the idea of saying no, fearing they will appear selfish or uncaring. However, the inability to set boundaries does not reflect greater compassion. Rather, it highlights a lack of self-awareness and self-respect. True compassion encompasses care for oneself as well as others. Acknowledging that you cannot pour from an empty cup is the first step towards sustaining your ability to give. Another critical component of self-preservation is self-awareness. Paying attention to emotional and physical signals, such as fatigue, irritability, or lack of motivation, serves as an early warning system. These signs indicate when compassion is tipping into overextension. Acknowledging these signals without guilt allows for necessary adjustments, ensuring that care for others does not lead to self-neglect. Practicing self-care is not only essential for personal well-being, but also enhances the capacity to show compassion. Engaging in activities that restore energy, such as exercise, hobbies, or rest, replenishes emotional reserves. This renewal ensures that acts of kindness stem from abundance rather than obligation or depletion. By prioritizing self-care, individuals reinforce the idea that compassion and self-preservation are not opposing forces, but complementary practices. One common misconception is that self-preservation diminishes the authenticity of compassion. In reality, individuals who maintain personal boundaries are often able to offer more genuine, thoughtful support. When overwhelmed, efforts to help others may feel half-hearted or forced. However, when care is given from a place of balance, it is more impactful, fostering deeper and more lasting connections. Furthermore, self-preservation empowers individuals to model healthy behavior for others. Demonstrating the ability to set limits and care for oneself inspires those around you to do the same. This ripple effect creates healthier communities, where compassion is practiced sustainably and mutual respect is prioritized. In professional settings, balancing compassion with self-preservation prevents burnout and promotes productivity. Many careers, particularly those in caregiving, teaching, or service industries, demand high levels of empathy and emotional labor. Without boundaries, this can lead to chronic stress. By advocating for personal well-being and recognizing the need for breaks, individuals protect their mental health while enhancing their effectiveness in supporting others. The ability to balance compassion with self-preservation is an ongoing process that evolves with experience and self-reflection. It involves recognizing that self-care is not a luxury, but a necessity. Compassion is most powerful when it arises from a place of inner strength and clarity. By nurturing this balance, individuals create lives defined by both generosity and resilience, offering kindness to others while preserving the well-being needed to continue giving. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed by the needs of others, wondering if your worth lies solely in what you can offer? If so, know that you are not alone. The journey toward balancing compassion and self-preservation begins with recognizing that your kindness is most powerful when it stems from a place of inner strength. True compassion is not measured by how much we sacrifice, but by how well we honor both our needs and the needs of others. The ability to give generously while preserving our own well-being is the foundation of a life that is rich, balanced, and fulfilling. When we understand that self-preservation is not selfish, but essential, we unlock the strength to care deeply without losing ourselves in the process. The beauty of this balance lies in its simplicity. By setting boundaries, we protect our energy and ensure that every act of kindness is rooted in sincerity rather than obligation. In doing so, we foster healthier relationships, deepen our connections, and inspire others to do the same. True compassion flows from abundance, not depletion. And the most profound generosity is one that allows us to continue giving without losing our sense of self. As we journey through the complexities of life, let us remember that saying no is not a rejection of others, but an embrace of our own value. In protecting our energy, we reclaim the freedom to choose where our compassion flows, paving the way for a life defined by both strength and unwavering kindness. In this harmony between giving and receiving, we find not only fulfillment, but also the enduring peace that comes from living authentically and wholeheartedly.